My second follow-up question, I just have to ask this. So many times there are insiders, right, who are involved with the scammer. I mean, insider in the bank, right, in the organization. And so there are willful acts. So, from the top, there could be like different set of, people in the senior management. But is it fair to conclude or to say that most of the time, I mean, they really eventually at the end of the whole, scheme, is it really worth it, for them? I mean, if they had to compare the scenario that, had they didn't engage themselves with this scammer, would they be making loss in terms of, financial um, uh, results?
Well, so I guess the compliance person in me would say, no, it's not worth it for a whole bunch of reasons.
Yeah. Well, worth it
There
may not be the
there's
right
clearly,
way.
yeah, there's clearly corrupt people, including corrupt insiders, that do get away with, with these kind
Mhm.
of schemes. One of the fascinating things about 1MDB was it just kept getting larger and larger and
Yeah.
larger, that became harder to cover up. Now that said, um, a good program, and particularly if you're taking kind of the computer screen,
Mhm.
will be able to see activity that is agnostic of who the person is on the line, the RM
Sure.
or whatever. So, that is a detection, and it's no different than a bank's controls, on embezzlement or bad loans or, bad credit decisions or whatever.
Mhm.
The big difference between credit and AML is if you do a bad credit, eventually it'll go bad. And
Yeah.
so someone will come in and take a look at it. If you're a good money launderer, the bank may or may
Mm.
not know that they
May
were a
or may
victim of
not.
money laundering. But then the other issue is, what if you have, people at the very top of the bank, that are part of the problem? And that
Mm.
did happen
Exactly.
in
That was my
1MDB.
question. Mhm.
Well, one of the really interesting things about the 1MDB thing is, they, in the cases, they really did get down to the very, very granular level, including getting tapes of calls inside the banks.
Absolutely.
And you could see that the compliance people in several of the banks, where the very top people were, part of the conspiracy, the compliance people were saying, wait, this doesn't make sense or whatever. And in some cases, the compliance people won the argument because the very top people were afraid that they wouldn't be able to justify what they were doing, and that they themselves eventually would go to jail. And in some cases, that is what happened. So, ironically, in some of the case studies we'll look at, the co-conspirators actually shut the activity down in their bank
Mm.
because the compliance people were asking so many questions. And, Jolo was the
Such a
same
good
way.
point.
When he started getting too many requests for information from the compliance people, he himself would say, this isn't worth my effort. I'm going to move to
Mm.
another bank. And he would move to another bank. So
That's the whole
there's some very
point.
interesting stories in this where the compliance people were working against the senior bankers, but they were still successful.
And that's so inspiring. I think that, I want to stop there because I really want everyone to, you know, I mean, want this to be registered. Uh, that compliance, I mean, you can make things difficult for, even if they are very powerful, or they have high associations. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's really great point. So, Tom, thank you. I think that I could go on. I absolutely have many questions, but I think that we can take one day at a time, and especially for a case like this, which is very complex, we may have follow-up question in our next session, and we can, I'm sure, go back and forth. Um, but I really like to thank you. I also want to take this opportunity to say that some of the creativity that you had when we were working together, with the terms, with the system, with the way of looking at risk, I have to say that at the end of the day, creativity can really go a long way in terms of AML programs.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're most welcome.